Walking through Japan at night, you might spot a strange scene. A business person in suits passed out on the street. Well, this is actually the result of Japan's unique drinking culture. But why has it become so normal to drink until you collapse? What does a drinking party mean in this country? Well, in Japan, drinking together is considered a form of communication, especially in the workplace. Well, there is even a word for it. Nominication, a mash-up of nomu and communication. The idea is very simple. Through drinking, people can build smoother relationships at work. While this includes bosses and subordinates as well as business clients. But in fact, many important business relationships in Japan are clearly forged over a few drinks. And it often follows a very specific pattern. So let me explain. The night usually begins with the first run, which is called ichijikai in Japanese. Well, this is the formal part, usually at izakaya Japanese pubs. There is a host, which is called kanji in Japanese, often a junior employee. They book the place and even decide the seating sometime. Yes, seating matters in Japan. The most senior person sits furthest from the door in the kamiza in Japanese, which is the upper seat, while juniors take the shimoza, which is the closest to the entrance. Well, this seating hierarchy appears everywhere in Japan, like taxis, meeting rooms, and even restaurants sometimes. But during the meal, etiquette is just as important. You keep your both glass full. When someone pours for you, you hold your glass with both hands and both rightly. But no one teaches you these rules directly. You just absorb them by watching. Well, basically, ichijikai feels polite, almost formal. But then someone says, let's go to second round. And the nijikai begins. Well, maybe it's another izakaya or maybe karaoke sometimes in Japan. But during second round, voices get louder, people loosen up, hierarchies soften. We even can joke to seniors sometimes. And if it's a really good night, there is the third round. Well, by then, you might be eating ramen at 2 a.m., having missed the last drink. Well, this in a nutshell is how a typical Japanese drinking party unfolds. We've already mentioned that the drinking parties like this are a popular way to build relationships in Japan. But why did this culture of deepening relationships through drinking parties come about in Japan? Well, this is related to Japan's post-war history. Well, after World War II, Japan focused all its energy on rebuilding from the ashes. And leading that charge were that so-called corporate warriors, men who dedicated their entire lives to the company. But those workers often put their jobs before their families, working overtime, getting transferred across the country, that was just normal. But back then, loyalty to the company was considered a virtue. Well, two key systems emerged from that era. Lifetime employment, which is called shushinkoyo in Japanese, where you stay with the same company until retirement. And second one is seniority-based promotion, which is called nenkojoretsu in Japanese, where the longer you stay, the higher you pay and the position. That is quite good, isn't it? I believe I will explain this unique Japanese, career system later in another video, so please watch it later. Within this system, the company started to feel less like a workplace and more like a family because you spend most of your time in your company. Just like in any close-knit family, while building strong personal bonds became essential, not just during office hours but outside of work too. And that is where drinking parties comes in. As I mentioned earlier, drinking in Japan is often more about communication than alcohol itself. But in fact, there is cultural belief that you can only speak your true feelings when alcohol is involved. Actually, in daily life, Japanese people tend to avoid showing strong emotions or saying what they really think. It's quite tricky, isn't it? But they often hide their true feelings behind what is called tatemae, a kind of polite public face. But once the drinks start pouring, you know what happened. So do the emotions. While people cry, while quite a co-workers suddenly open up and talk for hours, you start to see their real feelings, which is honne in Japanese. Well, it's through this shared vulnerability made possible by alcohol that deeper relationships are formed. So in Japan, drinking together is not just a socializing, it's bonding. So now that we understand how important drinking is in Japan, so let's go back to the real question of this video. So why do so many Japanese people drink until they pass out? The answer isn't just culture, it's also deeply psychological. Well, the first, there is the pressure on younger employees. Well, many young workers basically can't say no. Well, if your boss or a senior is still drinking, it is something like awkward to be the only one ordering water. And when someone's glass is empty, it's natural to offer a refill without thinking. Well, in many cases, keeping up with the group's pace drinking becomes an unspoken rule. So, like when I was in my early 20s, I experienced this more than once. I didn't really want to drink more, but my manager was, the kind and supportive daily, so I chose to drink. But not because I was forced, but because it felt like the right thing to do for me. I've also seen people pushed to drink by their seniors until they threw up. Well, I've experienced it myself too. I don't think it's a good thing, of course, but as a Japanese person, well, honestly, I've accepted it as just the way things are. Well, some of the people you see pass out drunk on the street at night in Japan are of this result, I think. The second one is another result. Well, many people drink as a way to deal with stress. Well, this is probably understandable for you. When you see a salaryman pass out on the street or train, well, chances are they are not just having fun. They are escaping something. Well, Japanese workplaces are filled with invisible pressure, strict language, rigid hierarchies I explained, and unspoken rules. Well, all of this leads to a constant suppression of emotions. But alcohol releases that pressure instantly. Well, there's even a saying in Japan, 飲んで忘れる, which means drink to forget. Well, people drink to forget their frustration, their failures, and the stress they can't talk about openly. But of course, this often includes not just work-related issues, but also family circumstances sometimes. But unfortunately, some lose control. They drink too much, too fast, and end up pass out. Well, scenes like this are surprisingly common on Japan's nighttime streets and late-night trains. I've known some friends of mine like this, and for some, getting that drunk has become a normal part of drinking culture to escape reality. Like too many people from outside Japan like you, this whole drinking culture and the idea of people passing out from alcohol might seem strange, isn't it? But to me, it almost feels, let's say something normal. Not because it's good or bad, but simply because it's a common part of life in Japanese society. But then I was thinking why it's normal, for me, but it's not normal for you. So where does this difference come from? While thinking about my life in Japan, I think one major reason can be traced back to university life, before we even enter the workforce. In Japanese universities, there is a huge emphasis on group activities known as saku. Well, these are sports, music, or culture. I think it's called society. I think for sure in England, but in the States as well. I'm not sure, but let me know. But socially drinking is often the main event. Circles have a clear hierarchy of seniors and juniors, and some of them are especially the so-called drinking circle, which is nomisa in Japanese, drinking games, punishment shot, and calls that push people to chag are completely normal. Well, as a freshman, why saying no is a bit tough. Not just because of the group pressure, but because you are drinking with seniors. Being invited by a senior or even being pushed to drink by them, it feels like a normal part of university life at the beginning. You want to fit in, so you go around. I joined plenty of these parties myself. Most were fun, some were a bit much. While there were nights I laughed all the way home and others where I learned my alcohol limit the hard way. But here is the key. During those years, you don't just drink, you observe the rules. How to drink with seniors, how to pace yourself, how to accept a drink when a senior offers one, and how to read the atmosphere during drinking party. After 4 years of university life, drinking with your boss at work doesn't feel strange at all. It feels like a continuation of university life. And just like in a college, someone always drinks too much and passes out. The only difference is that now they are wearing a suit. If you are wondering how students can afford drink so much, the answer is actually very simple. All you can drink system in Japan, which is called nomihodai. This system is everywhere in Japan for a fixed price, usually around 3,000 yen, which is roughly $20 at the moment. You can drink as much as you want for about 2 hours. For college student and young professional, it's a dream deal. You don't have much money, but you can still have a great night without worrying about the bill. Back in my college days, almost every drinking party was at a place with nomihodai. Without it, the cost felt too high, especially for young people. Even in the workplace, when running company parties, nomihodai is popular. It makes budgeting easier and nobody has to hold back on orders. But there is a flip side, as you know. With unlimited drinks and a ticking clock, people often push their limits, trying to drink as much as possible before time runs out. In this way, the nomihodai system itself supports the culture of heavy drinking in Japan. It's one reason why Japan's nightlife often ends up drunk people passed out on the streets. But there is another layer to all this, something built into everyday Japanese society. In Japan, it's not usual to see a salaryman passed out in public, sometimes even with his bag, wallet, or phone completely exposed, and yet nothing gets stolen. I believe this would be unthinkable in many countries. Imagine if someone passed out drunk on the bench in your city. What's the chances they still have all their belongings by morning? But somehow in Japan, this happens regularly, because Japan is safe. And that safety makes this kind of behavior possible, even if it's risky. Over time, people have simply gotten used to it. Drunken businessmen sleeping on the street had become such a familiar sight that many Japanese people barely react anymore. And listen, oddly enough, while Japanese society is famously strict about things like time, manners, and etiquette, when it comes to drinking too much, people tend to look the other way. There is almost sense of, oh, there goes another one who overdid it. Like that. In other words, there is a strange kind of tolerance for drinking to excesses, as if it's just a part of the culture in Japan. However, recently, things have started to change. More young people in Japan are questioning this drinking culture. According to the Ministry of Health, alcohol consumption among people in their 20s has dropped significantly over the past decade. My top reasons include, it's bad for my health, it's a waste of money, I don't want to get drunk in the first place. For Generation Z, the labor generation, nomikai aren't fun or relationship building. They are tiring. They drain your time and energy, so many simply chose not to attend. Honestly, skipping drinking party is still seen as somewhat like bad manners, but attitudes are becoming more lenient. What used to be called antisocial is now seen as like healthy boundaries. Even companies are adapting, replacing communication with brunch meetings or casual coffee chats, no alcohol required. The younger generation with their new values and lifestyles finally put an end to this tradition of drinking until collapse. Well, maybe. There are signs of change, as I told you. But even so, I doubt we will see the end of drunk salarymen sleeping on the street anytime soon. But because Japan still has many hidden programs that few people talk about. If you are curious about those deeper issues, check out this video next. Alright, so thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.